Hey now, cats, we're back again this week on the Balser Melwood Show, and I know it's been a long time. We haven't did a show since New Year's. Is that
Well,
correct?
yeah, New Year's, and then before that, it was several months, I think, before that.
Xtina, where the fuck we been at?
We've been everywhere, but we've also been nowhere. We're kind of like trapped in that, what do you call that? The middle zone.
The space-time continuum, Marty.
Ooh,
1.21 gigawatts. We'll go back.
that must be where we were.
That's where we was at.
Yeah, got
But
it.
anyway, it doesn't matter because we're back now. And hey, it feels good to be back, cats. We're coming back. This is our first show of a weekly show again. We're going to be coming at you every week again. Hopefully, you missed us enough that you want to tune in.
Yay!
Later in the show, I have effects wizard, producer, writer. There's nothing this dude does. Joe Castro. He's coming up on the first show here. I had a great interview with him. We went to see some movies here. I'm going to tell you about that. We got Xtinas Depravity Corner, as always, coming up. So let's just get right into it. Xtina, we watched some movies here in the past few days, and
We sure have.
so what do you want to start with?
Oh, let's see here. Well, let's start with the obvious, the one that everybody's talking about, the
The Invisible Man. Well, what did you think of it?
Well, I didn't love it. It's not my favorite movie of the year by any means, and it's decent, pretty predictable. What you've seen in the trailer, you've pretty much seen the movie, which kind of sucks, because, they make a trailer, I know they want to make it look exciting and get you there, but you can't give everything away in the movie, but also I think it kind of gave me a little PTSD, because it involves, I don't want to give too much away. Spoiler warning. But I mean,
It's in the trailer.
Exactly. So
you're not giving nothing away. If
this woman leaving her husband or boyfriend or whatever he is, and he's apparently abusive and mentally and emotionally abusive, and so he turns into this invisible man that follows her around all the time, and I kind of experienced that to some extent where I was in this relationship and it was kind of they tried to control me and that. And then when it was over, I was like, oh, sweet, it's over. Yeah, no, it just began. That was kind of the beginning of the stalking and the tormenting and the constant, crank calls and the whole thing. So I feel I left there and I was I felt icky and I didn't understand why. And it took me all day to really process that I could feel myself in my head having all these flashbacks, and I'm oh, that's not cool, But at the same time, I kind of wish that they would have gotten more into their relationship prior to the stalking and this and that, because it would have given you more, I think, more of a context of how these people really are. That would have been more interesting, I think. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I love Lee Wannell's movies. I think this one was good, but I always expect great. So I was a little disappointed. Much of what you're saying, I think they gave away way too much in the trailer. If I would have seen a lot of that stuff for the first time, I would have really been shocked.
Right.
They keep touting this as one of the best horror films of the year. It's not even really so much a horror film; it's more a psychological thriller.
Right.
And not only that, yeah, it takes a real long time to get going. This movie is 2 hours plus, and it don't even really start getting interesting for 45 minutes to an hour.
I was gonna say about 45 minutes, yeah. And
it's
we're
real
big on
slow
character
moving.
development.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind
But
character development, but this is the point where there's just too much.
You really gotta
And I think they picked an interesting choice for the lead. This lady, I'm glad they didn't pick a real good-looking broad, because you would have never took it seriously. Would have came off really hokey. So an average-looking chick, I think, was perfect for this. She's a good actress. It wasn't that it was a bad film at all. It was just kind of overly hyped. I think it's an adequate renner. Everybody's touting it like it's the next big thing, and yeah, I thought it was a good renner.
Right.
I wouldn't rush out to the theater to see it,
Right.
but and I love that guy's work. I think Upgrade's great. He's done a ton of great things, but
I know a movie you liked better.
oh.
Guns Akimbo.
I did. Let's talk about that. And this one, I'm eager to talk about this with you because I'm a fan of violence. Anybody that watches horror films, more than likely, you guys like violence, dude. I mean, people love to see that shit. I like things though that are overtly violent, but there is like a if you dig down, down, down deep into the surface, way beneath the surface of it, I should say, there is an underlying like social commentary or like a reflective mirror to society that shows, in fact, how fucked up we've become as a society and is so reliant on internet culture, and how our internet culture has become so diseased and disgusting and maligned, and people just accept it as everyday life. And people are, by nature, they want to see crime, they want to see blood, they want to see all that shit. They just don't want it to happen to them. So this movie is, to me, was a social commentary wrapped into a kind of a big, fun, over-the-top action blood fest, and I loved every fucking second of it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to tell them the premise, in case you haven't.
Yeah, I mean, it has a really neat premise. I got to give it that. I mean, I liked it. It's interesting, but for me, it was a lot of violence for no reason violence. But at the same time, I guess you kind of needed it because it's kind of the point of the movie. But they take this kid who is
Harry Nutter.
Yeah, Harry Nutter. Harry Potter. What's his name?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe. Thank you. And he's this nerdy kid at home, like playing this video game or whatever. But it's not really I guess it's a video game, but it's a real life thing. So like it's going viral, and it's called Schism. And they, so these evil people are behind it, and so they like pick random people to like go out and like literally go around killing people, and then all these sick people are watching it online, and they're like cheering for people to go kill these other people. It's, oh my god, it's wacky. So wasn't like a big fan of that, but because that scares me, because like that could actually happen in real life because our country's whacked out. But anyway, I don't want to be giving like crazy people any ideas. They have enough crazy ideas, you know what I mean? But it was interesting. So they, like, this dude's, like, flipping out online, and so the people who run this game show up, and, like, they basically make him part of the game, and they're like, yeah, you're next. And they, like, drill
bolt guns into his hands.
So he has no way to, like, use his hands other than to shoot things. Excuse me. And so, yeah, it's wild. And, of course, then wackiness ensues. And
he's pitted off against Samara Weaving, which I absolutely love from Ready or Not, Ash vs. Evil Dead. She plays like this kind of like, she's like the ongoing winner. And like nobody defeats her. So if Harry Nutter beats her, like he gets to live. And if he doesn't, he's going to die. So, Cats, if you want my recommendation as one of the funnest films I've seen in a long time, I'd check it out. I mean, Xtina, I don't know. Would you recommend it to people?
Oh, yeah, it's worth a watch. I mean, but be prepared for a lot of violence. I mean, that's kind of what it is, so. Which I knew, but I don't know. For some reason, it just struck me crazy. But it's a wild ride, that's for sure. So if you're looking for something fun, wild, and kooky, then that's the movie for you. And especially, it's kind of fun to see Daniel Radcliffe. Not that we're big Harry Potter fans, but it's like interesting to see him in a role that's kind of like violent, and not that stereotypical.
I have to give that guy credit because he goes out of his way to, him and Elijah Wood, I noticed they go out of their way to pick roles that are very, very unique and different, so they get away from that typecasting and pigeonhole of being Frodo and Harry Nutter. So I give that guy tons of credit because he's not afraid to pick like a crazy role like that. He don't really care if people like it or not. So.
Right. Not like that.
One more thing before we get to this woman's Depravity Corner right here. One more thing I'd like to gush about. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. Before The Invisible Man, you have been long awaiting this trailer. I've talked about it on the show before. Super excited for the... I guess it's I can't even know what it's called at this point. It's not a remake. It's not really a reboot. It's almost like a spiritual sequel. The Candyman. I can't wait for that. I think the trailer looks great. Mm-hmm. Written, produced by Jordan Peele. Directed by a female. I think her name is Nikita. Is it Nia something? I don't know right now, but I really like when female directors direct horror.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's very few and far between. Jackie Kong directed The Being back in the day. Mary Lambert directed Pet Sematary. It doesn't happen a lot. I like that. I wish I could see more, female horror directors. I think we need that.
Power.
Yeah, I think they have the ability to scare just as much as any guy. So
Yeah.
I fight the power. But yeah, I'm super excited for that. That's probably my most anticipated thing of the year. So, and then I got one. I saved the worst for last.
The worst for last.
The total worst for last.
Oh yeah, I know what you're gonna talk about.
I've been waiting for this for a year and a half. Like there's been film, what is it? They do like little film festivals and this and that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm a lover of bad cinema. I can forgive almost anything. Almost. I could probably name you 5 movies that I'd shut off I can't get through in my entire life. I don't, and I've heard so much hype again. Like, here's the thing: if you hear a lot of hype, more than likely it's probably not very good.
I found that to be true.
But I've heard people that I actually respect, like, tell me how this is like the horror equivalent of The Room. The Room is entertaining because it's bad,
but it's funny because it's so bad.
Yeah, but it's entertaining.
Yeah.
I watched this film and it's not entertaining by any means at all. Like, I was expecting, like, The Room, it's so bad I'm gonna laugh.
Okay, but what is the name of the movie?
I hate even.
You're scared to say.
I'm scared. Glenn Danzig, Verotika. I love the Misfits, you know that. I love Danzig. I love this dude. And it just pains me, man. Like, everybody seems to be thinking this is. I didn't laugh once. It's just so fucking bad. Like, I want my hour and a half of life back. Like, it's not even bad on a good level at all. Like, I could probably write a book on how bad this film is, like, on so many different levels.
Maybe you should. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I mean, and then, like, what's actually upsetting to me is, like, I read all the comic books, and it's an anthology. They had probably about 120 stories to choose from, and he picked 3 of the fucking stupidest stories from the comic book. And they don't translate good on film at all. One's about this fucking... And like 3/4 of the movie, the fucking assholes are all speaking French. And I'm just like...
And there's no, like, subtitles, or...
Well, no, they have a really bad French accent. Like, you could tell it's American actors, and they're just trying to... They're like, c'est flou. C'est flou. And I'm like, this is driving me fucking crazy.
Right.
Like, that's not funny to me at all. It's fucking stupid. The only thing I could say is I like the minute and a half opening. They did this really cool animated thing with all the people like that's in it, and that was better than the whole movie.
Wow.
There's 3 stories. Every story's fucking stupid.
Every story's stupid.
One's about a fucking this French girl. She's not French. Her tears fall on a spider, and it morphs into a fucking rape demon, and then it's I don't even want to fucking. It's so stupid.
Quit while you're ahead.
The other one's about Elizabeth Bathory, because that hasn't been done enough. Right. Like, how original was that? And then you have this wraparound of Caden Cross, the porn star Caden Cross. I'm like, at least that's something that people want to see. Dudes will be like, yay, Caden Cross. Terrible. She's not even naked. She comes out. She acts about as good as any given porn star. I can't. You know what's so bad? I can't. The second story that actually sort of was okay. Like, if I had to pick one out of the 3 that was the least shittiest, and this one's shitty too. Don't get me wrong. It takes place at a strip club, like, the whole time, which I'll give Glenn Danzig credit. Like, he's not afraid to show nudity. In fact, like, if every scene in this movie is like overly shot by like 4 minutes. Like, if he focuses on something, I can see him filming. He's like, "All right, let's get this scene here," and then he focuses on it. I'm not even kidding. It's got to be a drinking game. Like, you got to time how long each scene is. If he shoots like a chick like dancing on stage, the camera's on it for like 6-7 minutes.
Oh wow, that's weird.
And this is the way this movie is through the whole thing. Like, every shot is like 7 times too long.
Oh jeez.
And you're just like, what the fuck? I'm like, there's something wrong with it.
Is it stuck?
Like, and it goes on the whole fucking movie. You're like,
Jesus.
And I'm like, surely he's seen films before, and he knows, like, I'm like, this dude loves film. He's a fucking horror movie. I'm like, surely you just by watching, you would have to pick up something, I would think. But I'm just like, and the effects look like he just fucking went and grabbed a bunch of shit from the thrift shop and said, let's just fucking do this shit. And Rob Zombie's like, hey, man, I thought I was the only one who likes to make shitty movies. And Glenn Danzig's like, Rob, hold my beer, buddy. It's all mine now. So that's my review of Verotika. It's not fun. It's not funny. don't believe people when they say they make excuses because it's so bad it's funny. It's not funny at all. It's the biggest piece of shit I've seen this year. So anybody that I would love to know how anybody got enjoyment out of this at all. So better you than me. So if I had to get my 90 minutes of life back, that was please,
totally
please don't waste your time. Seriously.
Got it.
You just go back.
Guess who didn't waste their time on it?
Yeah.
Smarty pants.
Sometimes you just gotta admit when you're wrong. Go back and listen to Misfits record. Put in some, maybe go to a solo record. Put on Lucifuge. Don't watch Verotika. It's fucking terrible. Even the song he does for the fucking movie is fucking stupid. So he's just like...
It's no blood and tears. Huh?
Nah, it's no twist of cane. Nothing like that. And he's just like, let's see how stupid I can make a film. Go. Let's see how dumb I can make this soundtrack. Let's see if I could piss the whole horror community off. And then in turn convince these dumb motherfuckers that it was all done in jest and it's a joke. It's not. It's fucking terrible. Oh, terrible. Danzig, you're making me hate. You're making it really hard for me to like you, buddy. So that's all I have to say about that, cats. We're done with that. I have a very beautiful woman I'd like to introduce you to. This lovely lady right here, and she's gonna tell you the most fucked up story of the week. You guys haven't had depravity in a while, so you better make it good.
Oh, I'm going to make it good. In fact, this isn't the most fucked up tale of the week. This is the most fucked up tale of the last probably 6 months.
Ooh.
And it's still continuing. I mean, this is going to be, I think, this should probably, especially if we assume what's going to be happening here, going to get down as the most bizarre case in history ever. So, I'm sure most of you by now have heard of the name Lori Vallow. If not, you might have heard of Chad Daybell. If not, you might have heard of the two missing children, JJ and Tylee. The pictures have been posted everywhere for months now. They've been missing since September. It is now, let's see, what is this? March. Today's March 1st.
Yeah.
Well, we're recording on March 1st, but, you'll probably watch this a little later. But anyway, the point is they've been missing for a whole hell of a long time. And okay, that's strange enough, but what makes it even stranger is all the circumstances around it. Now, what happened is the mother, Lori, she seems to have these weird beliefs in the end of times. And so she became obsessed with this guy, Chad Daybell, who writes books and practices this kooky religion about the end of times. So she, I guess, somehow reached out to him and they became friendly. And meanwhile, she's married to this guy for I don't know how long. She's married to husband number, I think, 4 at that point. So this woman is now on her 5th husband. Okay, do you want to guess how many of her previous husbands are still alive? 1. Oh, yeah.
1?
Oh, well, yeah. She only has 1 husband that's still alive, 1 ex-husband. Because they all mysteriously die of heart attacks at relatively young ages. Well, no, the other one, it's a long story. But anyway, try to keep up. There's a lot of characters. It is so whacked out. I didn't even write notes because it's all in my head. Because even if I wrote notes, I wouldn't even know where to look. So these kids have been missing. The grandparents got nervous because the young boy, who's only 7, is autistic. And the grandparents are like, well, this is really weird. We haven't heard from him in a while. And they're pretty close. So they asked her, where's our grandson and when can we see him? And she kept saying, oh, he's not here right now, or he's at a friend's house, or, making all these weird excuses, and it just wasn't normal. So they finally called the police and they said, we need a welfare check. Go to their house. So they go to the house. They ask where the kids are. Lori says, oh, he's with his grandparents. Yeah, guess what? No, he's not, because his grandparents are the one who called us to come do a welfare check. Oh yeah, I forgot. He's with his friends. And then they checked with this lady, and she's like, yeah, I haven't seen him for like a month. And so next thing you know, guess who left Idaho? Lori and Chad. They ran away. Nobody could find them for literally months. And it turns out they're in Hawaii. They got married. Now here's where it gets wacky. So let's see. Here's the time frame. So the kids went missing. Nobody's seen them since September. It was reported in October. Chad and Lori got married in October. Okay. Meanwhile, her husband had just been killed 2 months prior by her brother in self-defense. Okay? And then, in addition to that, Chad's wife died, 49 years old, perfectly healthy woman, died in her sleep of natural causes. Is this sounding suspicious a little bit? Oh, and so it was a whole whopping 3 weeks from the time his wife died to the time he remarried this crazy bitch. So, and, these kids are missing. Nobody's heard from them. Nobody knows what's going on. Then in another weird twist of thing, the parents are, or these people are discovered in Hawaii. They're just, there's pictures of them doing the luau. I'll try to find them. We'll post them up here. But no care in the world. No care in the world. And, the news media tries to talk to them, and they're like, hey, the world cares more about where your kids are than you do, apparently. And she's like, that's nice. And keeps on walking. It's so bizarre. And so, the first dead husband, died of a heart attack in a suspicious circumstance. This other one, the brother supposedly, he shot him and he admitted to shooting him, but he claimed it was self-defense because this guy was coming at him with a baseball bat, which everybody that knows this man's, character says he's not that way, he wouldn't do that. And in fact, when he filed for divorce, he had 3 pages of why he was filing for divorce from this crazy Lori, and it was all about these end of times and her getting involved with this Chad Daybell. Apparently he had stayed in their home, their marital home, if you will, and and then she ends up leaving him and leaving the husband, or whatever. Clearly she had the husband killed off so she could be with this guy, and I'm assuming he had the wife killed so he could be with her. It's all just too suspicious. So they exhumed the body of this Chad's wife, and they do have results, but they haven't announced them yet because I think they're, I think they did find something, and I think they're trying to secure evidence enough to call it a murder, and they have to it's really tricky. So I think that's what's happening there. I think they are looking into what happened to her previous husband. Of course, they're checking on, was this self-defense with the other one? Now, the only person who really knows is the brother, and guess what? He's dead. Isn't this wacky? And then she got her niece followed her, her adult niece. This woman, I can't remember her name, Bordeaux or something like that is the last name, I think. And she was married to this kid, Brandon. And they have a couple kids, and they're in their mid-20s. She followed Lori to follow this quote-unquote cult and this end of times thing. So he filed for divorce, and he wanted custody of these kids. As soon as he filed for divorce, he was getting out of his car one night, going into his house. Someone shot at him. And he knows for a fact that it was this brother who shot the husband, Alex Cox, and now he's dead. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's just, there's so many characters. It's so wacky. They had the family on Dr. Phil the other day, because, they're trying so hard to, get to her, and she's not talking, and she's not admitting anything. Now, what I didn't know was, prior to the brother dying, and he seems to be the, killer guy, or the what do you call them, the hitman, if you will, they went with the kids to Yellowstone National Park. And they're saying that's the last time the 17-year-old Tylee was ever seen, or her phone ever pinged, or whatever. Well, her phone did ping, but it pinged because the mother took the phone. So, this 17-year-old girl, she's pretty intelligent for her age. And I don't think that if she was, let's say, abandoned in Yellowstone or, left to be hidden somewhere with some wacky cult, that at this point she wouldn't have managed to get a hold of some form of communication. And especially knowing that the whole world is looking for you. I think she has the wherewithal, from what I hear of this girl, to manage to get seen or be heard or something and get to authorities. So don't have a real good feeling about it. They had, there's surveillance video of Lori and her brother before she married this guy. They went to storage facilities, and they were going back and forth, in and out, and they're carrying a couple of big bags and things like that. So that's not good. And they got a, a warrant to look in the storage facility. or no, actually, they were allowed to look at it because they abandoned it and they just let it go. So it becomes property of the storage owner. So he let the media come in and look around, and it's like bikes and clothes and like old pictures and things, like stuff that like you would, if your kids were still around, you wouldn't be storing away, And so, I mean, I pray that the worst didn't happen, but at the same time, like, it's so sad. Like, what these kids, gosh, like, you almost don't want them to have to deal with these psychos, And right now, they did luckily get the woman arrested finally in Hawaii, but she's arrested on, I mean, they can't prove that she did any wrongdoing. She's only arrested on, like, abandoning her children and not bringing her children forward. So I don't know how long they can hold somebody on something like that. Not very long, I don't think, until they get more evidence of something more, I guess, nefarious. So that's where we're at. She's still in Hawaii. I guess the husband flew back, and then she's supposed to be extradited to Idaho for more, judgments there and things of that nature. So keep an eye out, keep your prayers. These kids, I don't know. I don't have a good feeling, but, who knows? Maybe they put them with other cult members and they're just being, locked up there. It's very bizarre. But everybody's coming out, and, family members and everybody saying, like, this is so sucky, and this is like your worst nightmare, and it's my nightmare. I'm in the middle of it. Like, she has an older son who's like in his 20s, and he's like looking at the cameras and screaming, "Mom, do something. Bring me my brother and sister, like, this is ridiculous." So it's really sad. Hopefully, it gets resolved, or one way or another, for good or bad. I just hope to God that these people get the justice that is seemingly deserved, and nobody else has to freaking die in the process, because it's insane. I mean, did that just blow your mind? You have nothing to say. You're like,
I feel like I need like
you need several drinks, and like
I feel like I need a checklist.
You do. It's funny when I see this on like CNN or MSNBC or any of the shows. They literally have like a family tree with like a chart.
I know, it's like Game of Thrones or something.
You really
or
do.
Like Where in the World is Carmen
like
Sandiego? It's like they go from here to here,
I know,
but then they do this and it goes from here to here.
That's how I finally wrapped my head around it, because I was like
chart, blown away like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy. But yeah, so you can just do more research on your own if you want. I mean,
just type in religious kooks end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. They'll come right up. But it's so crazy. I can't even understand how crazy these people are. And that they don't even think nothing of it. Like, how do you, like, let your kids disappear? And, like, I mean, I don't get it.
My kids are dead. I'm going to Disney World.
Right.
Woo!
And then, like, have no qualms about it. And I think her theory is, and she had made the comment before that, well, the end of the world is coming, so I might as well just, off the kids and, wait.
Well, by that rationale, why wouldn't you kill yourself?
Yeah, right, exactly. Oh, and funny enough, of course, they got all this money from all these deaths of husbands and wives.
Of course they
Imagine that. That's how they've been living in Hawaii for the past.
Well, of course, that's how you want to live in the end times,
right. It's just sickening. Disgusting, filthy, disgusting human beings.
That's all I got to say. Mm-hmm. It's not even worth talking about.
Not at all.
You know what a people fan I am. So.
Right. So, they're the worst.
Is that all you got?
That's all I got. Is that enough? I think it's enough.
That's enough for now, for sure. Well, Kat, you heard it from her. I got to say, you really showed and proved today. That's pretty fucked up. But last but not least, Cats, I am very, very proud to bring this interview to you. I interviewed the great, like I said, he does incredible effects. He has for years. He's known in the business. There's not much he doesn't do, Cats. He writes, he produces, he effects. I could go on and on. Hope you enjoy my interview with the man, the myth, the legendary Joe Castro. Check it out.
Stay tuned.
Hey now, Cats, we're back again this week on the Balls from Ellwood show, and with me I have a very special guest, a man that I've always admired his work. He is a director, he's a producer, he's an effects artist. Is there anything you don't do, Joe Castro? Really? Tell me, man.
That's a good question. No, I try to, well, first of all, hello, and thank you for having me on the show. I just want to say it's always an honor and a privilege when someone takes an interest in my work and allows me to share, all the amazing fruits and benefits that I've had over the years from just trying to be the best me that I can be. And as far as, is there anything I can't do? I really try to hone in on a few good things today, as opposed to being like all over the place, a jack of all trades. But I just try to make the world a better place, one movie at a time, one effect at a time. That's pretty much my goal. If I can make my boss look and feel cool, I think I've done my job. That's it. I keep it real simple today.
I mean, you're a major award winner. You've won 46 awards for all your.
I've won some awards for the films that I've created with my partner Steven Escobar. I've been with my partner for 22 years. We've made 12 feature films together. I have 18 feature films under my belt right now, and all have had domestic and international distribution. And I just keep trying to, like I said, make a better picture, make a new story, make a new movie family every time I make a film. And I try to make each film a little bit better than the one before.
I've always been fascinated with your effects work, man. Like I said, I'm a fan of Blood Feast too. I love Terror Tunes. I could spot off 100, man. But I gotta say, what I'd really like to do is, for people, most people that tune in my show, they're obviously you're recognizable easily. But for people that aren't, I would like to kind of go back and I'm sure you've answered all this shit 100 times, but I'd like to know where you grew up at. Did you grow up in Texas, I believe?
Yes. I grew up in a small town in South Texas, Helotes, Texas, and which actually means young corn for all those out there that are interested. And basically, it was like population, I think it was 1,400 growing up. It since has, of course, grown, but it was a very small town. I grew up on a very large piece of property, and I was able to begin a career in filmmaking at the age of 12, basically, when my parents bought me a home video camera. It was the first one that came out on the market. And just the year before that, I got the magazine Cinemagic. Cinemagic was a magazine where young effects artists could they could write in and we could talk to each other. So Cinemagic was a very, very, hold on a second, I gotta come over here. That's enough. Quiet down. They're basically, dogs are more important than people. Come on. Let's be honest. Dogs are more important than people. In my world, they are. Anyway, so Cinemagic was a very important magazine because special effects artists that were up and coming all over the world could write in and they could correspond with each other through this magazine. And not only could they do that, but they could write articles and they could describe techniques and things that they learned. And so it was kind of like the internet in a magazine for special effects artists. So we could all talk to each other. And issue number 6, it's probably the most important magazine ever for any special effects artist. In fact, you can still get back issues of it today online. It has a step-by-step instruction of how to make a rubber mask, how to take a life cast of someone, how to put clay on it, how to sculpt your character, and how to make it in a mold of it, and then pour it up in rubber to make a rubber monster mask. That's pretty much the fundamentals of what every special effects artist wants to learn. And I did this at the age of 12, so I was shooting movies, I was making rubber monster masks, and the first chance I got, I ran out to Hollywood. That's where it all began. The humble beginnings on a goat ranch in Helotes, Texas.
Well, that brings me to my next question. It seems to me like you were always a fan of the horror genre growing up. What was that definitive movie, or what did you see that just gave you the bug that you wanted to do that you wanted to do effects work, that perhaps you wanted to be in that industry?
Right. That's a very good question, and it's commonly known. For those people that are close to me, know me. They know that when I was 7 years old, my dad sat me down in front of the television and he showed me Godzilla versus the Smog monster. And, the movie was so influential because my dad knew that I liked dinosaurs. He knew I liked dragons. And he knew that I would enjoy this film. But he had no idea that this film encompassed every aspect of special effects in a movie. It had miniatures. It had men in monster suits. It had makeup effects of people's skin burning off with acid fumes. It had rotoscoping, which is basically visual effects these days. Godzilla's breath. It had lightning coming out of the Smog monster's eyes. It even had a transformation scene where the Smog monster transforms from a tadpole-like creature to a flying creature to a land crawling creature. So it had like every aspect of special effects in the film. And once that movie was over, it was a Saturday afternoon, and when the credits started to roll, I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
It was
so that was it. I was like, at 7 years old, I had one direction to go, and I haven't looked back since. So
you had mentioned your father was supportive. Did your mother understand, your fascination with this stuff?
Well, I think she absolutely understood my fascination for it, but my mother never. She had other plans for me, and my plans as a filmmaker never really fit into what she wanted for me. But things change, people change, and I made a promise to my father that I would never stop chasing my dream. In fact, my father literally stopped me on the front porch one day as we were crossing paths. I was going in. He was going in the house as I was going out the door to go make a movie or hang out with friends or something. And he was like, "Son, promise me that you will never stop chasing your dream, and you'll always, do what you love as an artist and try to be a director and a special effects artist." And I told him, "Okay, Dad, I'll never stop chasing that dream." So, my dad passed away in 1997, and I've always kept that promise to him.
Well, let me ask you this. So let's just say that wasn't the case. Let's say that you never did any of this stuff. What do you think that you would be interested in doing if you never chose this career path?
What would I be doing instead of this?
Yes.
Oh, I think I would probably be teaching art or teaching art, or something else I've done that I really had a fondness for was making like hyper realistic prosthesis for people who have lost like arms and legs and portions of their body and face and stuff like that. I think I would be really into doing something like that, because I had the opportunity to do that in Texas during the late 1990s. And that was something that I got a lot of joy out of doing.
How did you, were you self-taught growing up? And you said you read books and things, but did you have somebody to actually, show you the way? Or,
that's a good question. Well, Tom Savani was someone that was easily accessible to reach growing up. Back when I was growing up, you could call 911. Not 911. I'm sorry, 411. Mm-hmm. And if you had like the phone number, the area code to the town that the person lived in, they would give you, the area code, the phone number to that information. You could call them, and then you could get the phone number of the person you were trying to reach if they were listed in the phone book. And I was able to reach out to Tom Savani, and he was very helpful in, showing me how to do some simple things over the phone. Explained how to do some simple things that kind of opened my imagination to be able to encourage myself to do stuff that I didn't think I could do. And he taught me how to load air into a chemical fire extinguisher to pump the blood out of the head, even though later on he explains it in, I think it's in one of his books, but he explained over the phone, and he just took the time to actually answer a lot of questions that I had. And so, like, fearful of working special effects artists were using, even like at the age of like 14 and 15 and 16, I was using all the same chemicals they were using to make monsters.
Nice, man. Was there a lot of trial and error when you were growing up? Were you just kind of a natural early on?
I trial and error. That's a good question. I don't know that I didn't have anybody telling me that what I was doing was wrong, because so few people did it. So everything I did was like, wow, what is that? Wow, how'd you do that? You know what I'm saying? Today, everybody's a critic. You got the internet, you got, a lot of people doing special effects. Everybody's judging everybody's work. Everybody's an artist. Everybody's a filmmaker. Everybody's a director. But, bottom line, what I've learned over the years, to answer your question, maybe I did make a lot of mistakes, but no one told me there were mistakes. So I just continued. To be honest with you, half of the stuff I do has come from making a mistake at something else. Doing some of the makeups that I do, I kind of have an odd way about going about making my effects. I try to do something whenever I do a special effect. I intentionally go out of my way to not use a technique that everybody has either mastered or used so many times before. And I do that because I don't want other special effects artists to look at my work and say, yes, this was done like this. And yes, I get it. Oh, you did a good job at doing that. When people look at my work, I want them to say, how did you do that? Like, how did you go about doing that? What technique did you use? That's weird. That's odd. That's different. That's unique. I don't want it to be like just a perfected version of someone else's technique.
Does it bother you that other effects people are so critical of each other?
Yeah, it's the real nature of the beast these days. I think that it's always been that way. When you're working, like with it's like being on the football team or being, on some sort of competitive league. It's always been that way because there's so few jobs in the industry where someone like myself gets to make like a giant creature, like something like as big as Jaws or something. And so everybody's always fighting for that job. And so it is highly competitive, highly critical. And I think the real trick is to find a relationship with a director where it's a very symbiotic relationship with a makeup effects artist. And what I've noticed over the years, the more that I'm capable of forming those like permanent bonds with directors, the more work I get, And it's not really about my imagination and how great I am. It's about how well can I go into the mind of the director and extract what he sees and produce it. And that's a real struggle for a lot of artists. There's some amazing artists out there. They have like amazing skills. They can paint like nobody's business, sculpt, draw, have a great imagination, but can they produce what's in the mind of the director? Because there's really only one vision. It's not about the artist coming in say, hey, look at this great thing I can do. If it doesn't melt into what the director needs.
I see. That's got to be tough, I think.
Let me ask you. Yeah, go ahead.
What's the longest amount of time that you've worked on a specific effect in your career?
Wow. Let me think about that. That's a good question. I rarely get much time at all. I rarely get much time at all. I recently built a giant creature that's going to be coming out in a movie this year. Mm-hmm. And I got 30 days to build like literally the largest creature in my entire career.
Oh, wow.
They gave me 30 days from the time they handed me the first check to begin starting building. I had already pre-production designed it, but the build itself and bringing it to set, I only got 30 days.
Nice, man. Let me ask you this too. I was thinking, have you ever felt like an effect came out different than you had imagined it? I mean, is it for the better or for the worse?
Absolutely. I mean, I prefer working with a team of people, and it's because it's always better to have an extra eye. Sometimes I'm just not given the amount of time it takes to do an effect. I'll tell a director I need 2 hours to apply something, they'll give me 15 minutes, or I'll only have one chance to do a face right. Just and I only got one chance to make a mold of it, run the piece, and get it to set in time. And if you have two people there, you have somebody to back you up and saying, hey, maybe stop, take a breath, take a look at this. What do you think about that? And so teamwork is always best. I prefer to have I don't want to say assistant, but just a partner in crime whenever I'm working on projects. But yeah, so many times I have been going through the process so quickly, I didn't have time to stop and double check my work before I even got to set and realize, well, there's no turning back now. I guess I just have to move forward.
We've talked a lot about your effects growing up. I'd like to know, how did you transition into, producing and, directing? I mean, did that just happen?
Yeah, that kind of went hand in hand. When I started making rubber monsters as a kid and I got the video camera, I had to, have the camera in order to show people the effect. So I was directing my special effects and it all went hand in hand. And, over the years, I've been given the opportunity to direct many films. And, now over the years, I realized that my specialty, even though I do like directing entire features, my specialty really is being the director of special effects. And I use that title I'm very serious about that title because a lot of directors, especially today in the world of computer generated effects, they believe that they know how to direct effects on set. And after doing, I'm in my 38th year of doing this stuff. After doing it for 38 years, directors need to understand that when they bring me in, you need to use me to my full potential. And that is becoming the director of the special effects. You need to listen to me in order to execute the effects correctly on set. I can't tell you how many times some of my best, most amazing work has never been shot correctly, and the audience will never see it correctly in a movie. They can see it great on my Facebook page because I'll take pictures of it, but they'll never see it in the film correctly. Yeah.
What's the best thing you enjoy about your occupation? And what is the most horrible thing about your occupation?
Okay, that's a good question. The two things, the most, I want to start with the most horrible thing. Absolutely 100% jealousy. Jealousy of success that I've encountered over the years. Of even my closest of closest friends have had to be cut out of my life like poisonous, cancerous sores because of jealousy. That's on terrible. How far I've come. It's absolutely 100% awful. There are literally grown men and women that I literally thought I would be going to either their funeral or they were going to be going to my funeral because we were just that close, who I've literally had to cut out of my life because once jealousy seeps in, and there's no chance of them admitting that's the problem because it's so embarrassing. But I literally had to cut them out of my life, you know. And I didn't get into this business for jealousy and for greed or any of that, you know. Like I said at the beginning of the interview, my job is to make my boss look cool and the people I'm working for feel good about themselves. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm not doing my job. And then there takes us to the best thing about my job. I get to make people feel awesome. When I put makeup on people and they look like totally crazy and amazing. It's like I can make some of the like most bashful, shy people become complete extroverts just by putting something on them that hides their true identity, and then they get to go out in front of the camera and act like crazy, wild creatures and whatnot. And to be able to have the talent or the ability, power to do that is an amazing feeling.
Tell me one thing that you like to do that may surprise your fans.
Let's see. But I don't know if that would surprise them though. Let me think. What do I like to do? I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty vanilla these days. You know, I'm going to be 50 this year, and some of the favorite. My favorite moments. I mean, I just had my 22-year anniversary with my partner Steven Escobar. We've been together for 22 years, and we've made 12 features together. Yeah, thank you. And my favorite thing. Well, go ahead. What you say?
I'm just saying, a relationship that long is surely amazing, man. People don't stay together for a year now anymore.
That's right.
I commend you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Both of you. Thank you. My favorite thing to do in the whole wide world is literally, and I kid you not, sit in silence after eating an amazing meal, looking right across the table from my partner, and no one needs anything. No one needs to say anything, and the dessert's done, and we're just there, and that's it. No one has to do a damn thing.
I totally understand that, man, because everything's so hustle and bustle all the time.
Like, absolutely.
You're just like,
like no one needs nothing. I mean, like literally, it's like nothing to be done. And like they bring me the check, and I'm like, don't pay it yet. We're not going nowhere. There's nothing to do. That's my favorite thing in the whole wide world to do. Absolutely nothing. Be completely content. You know. My fans aren't going to be surprised to know. So one of my favorite things to do is to like get dressed up as some insane, crazy thing on Halloween, or running around the city. I say half naked, or it could be half clothed, whatever you want it to be. But that's another. Half empty, that's probably my favorite thing in the whole wide world to do. How little can I wear on Halloween and get away with it? And each year, that's my goal. What am I going to do this year where I can actually be wearing even less? So I think I have an idea of next year. So
you got to keep me posted.
Absolutely. So
I actually had a question. Your Summer Massacre. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most kills in a slasher film. Was that something when you had started that you set it out to do, or that just kind of happened organically as the film went on?
No, that's absolutely something I wanted to do. Absolutely. Yeah, when we started making the film, I said, if I'm gonna. I had already made many slasher films. I made the Jackhammer Massacre. I made Maniacal, Butchered. And so I'm like, if I'm gonna make another slasher movie, let's make a slasher movie that's going to like totally change the whole game up for everybody. Let's make a slasher movie that's in the Guinness Book of World Record. And I think that like the body count was like 50, like the record we had to beat or 55 or something like that. So we made 155 kills, and it was hard keeping it quiet while we were making the film. No one knew what we were doing. No one got a whole copy of the script. I when I was making the film, I went to like CGI school. I used a lot of computer generated effects in the film. I shot a lot of it practical, but I did a lot of it with computers, most of it with computers. And so the whole film is kind of like this very avant-garde learning experience. But, it still holds up on its own. It still has a very kind of like dark, depraved, kind of sick kind of feeling to it, even though it is mostly CG. And I just remember when it was done and the record came out and the movie was released, there was so much jealousy and hate toward it online. And it was the most illegally downloaded film for, I want to say, a month like a full 4 weeks. Was it 2 weeks or 2 months in a row? And the distributor just could not get it down off YouTube. Every single day it would pop up someplace up, and they were everybody was uploading it and sharing it everywhere. Yeah.
Wow, man. Did you even make any money off it?
We did in foreign countries. We made money off of it, but it was like literally the most illegally uploaded film for almost 2 months in straight, and we just couldn't keep it down. We just couldn't keep it. Now YouTube would take it down like immediately, but we couldn't keep it down. Someone else would put it up, and everybody was pirating it and putting it up online. Everybody wanted to see it. Yeah, which is great, but not great.
Let me ask you this: what is the most challenging project that you've ever worked on?
The most challenging project.
Like you just like I can't even fucking. I gotta quit this. Like it's driving me.
You mean as a struggle, like something that was painful for me?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know that I've had one that was so much painful. I mean, I've had some painful experiences on set working with certain people. I was recently on a movie set where the there was a team of other artists that did not like me, and they were working very hard to sabotage my work in the film. But it's not. It's so fucked up. We're working on the same movie, and they want to make my work look shitty. It's so screwed up. And they just, the jealousy runs so deep. You can't calm that jealousy. There's nothing you can do. The kinder you are to them, the more they hate you. Like, how can this guy be so nice? And so I did everything I could to be of service and whatnot, but they did everything they could to sabotage my work. I was literally doing this one scene where a guy was melting. And in fact, hell, I'll just say it. There's a movie coming out this year. It's called Exorcism at 60,000 Feet. Okay. And it stars Bill Moseley and Adrienne Barbeau and Lance Erickson's in it and all these big stars. And the three key makeup artists on the shoot were extremely jealous of me. And they tried to sabotage my work in the film because they wanted to be doing the special effects makeup. But they weren't good.
Like, how can you handle, like, how do you deal with these people? Like, how do you defeat the situation?
It's very, very difficult. It's very, very hard.
Does that even apply?
It's like someone shooting at you with a BB gun while you're trying to do delicate, detailed work. You're just constantly watching your back, constantly trying to deflect all the things they're doing to try to sabotage your work. At one point, I was doing a melting sequence, and I only had 15 minutes to do something that I was supposed to be given 2 hours. And we were shooting it. This guy was supposed to be melting, and I was literally using a Italian salad dressing running down his face because it had bits and pieces of stuff in it, and I was pouring it on him. It's non-toxic, whatever. And the makeup artist like, that has vinegar in it. You're going to blind him. You can't put that on his face. Have you ever dived into a chlorinated pool that has chlorine in it? You're not going to be blinded by it. Anyways, my point is, the whole time they're literally saying out loud as I'm pouring it on his face, don't pour that on his face, as the cameras were rolling, trying to stop the effect from happening because it's going so well. And then, after the salad dressing, I started with the Carol blood pouring on him and the makeup on him, dripping flesh and whatnot. You can't. What's in that blood? Blood's not safe. That's not the safety blood that we buy from the makeup store. That's your own brand of blood you made. What's in it? It must be toxic. You can't put that on his skin. Out loud in front of the producers and the director and the actor, And then, so the assistant director walks over, literally takes his finger, sticks it on the guy's face and goes, "Yeah, that's just pancake syrup. Keep going." He goes, "Yeah, that's just salad dressing. Keep going."
You're obviously a really nice dude, so I just want to take the opportunity to do this. Here at the Boston Mower Show, I want to say a nice big fuck you to them asshole.
Thank you. So recently, and this is the first time I appreciate you doing that. Recently, I just found out that as of now, maybe in the future, the movie will win more awards. I think it's coming out this May. The movie won Best Special Effects at the New York Horror Film Festival, and I believe that's the only award it's won so far. So yes, I'm very proud of my effects work in the film. It was a lot of fun. I did over 122 visual effects shots, plus all the practical on set. I had one assistant, Marcella, who helped me do all the effects on set, and she was there, keep picking up the slack and fending off those makeup artists that were trying to sabotage my work on set. But I'm very proud of it, and that was probably the most difficult experience I've had.
I'm glad everyone knows the true story now, so when it comes out, I'll remind everybody to check it out, and we all know why the effects was good. This guy right here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'd like to get a little bit into, I love you, like I said at the beginning here, I love your effects and Blood Feast too. I'm a big Herschel Gordon Lewis fan. How was he to work with, man? That had to be an amazing thing, right?
Herschel, all I can say is, I don't know if anyone, I've never encountered anybody that has had anything negative to say about the man. So just with that being said, just being in his presence is an amazing experience. Everything he does, everything he says is with such a gentle and positive intention. He made the world a better place with his movies and his laughter and the way that he showed other people how to be kind human beings. He was so giving of himself and all of his secrets, all of his trade secrets. And, he was always willing to help the independent filmmaker, and no matter how small the budget it was. He would say, what you'd go to like talk with him about price, and you say, what do you have to work? What do we have to work with? Is what he would say, because he wanted to make sure that he could be helpful in some way. He never wanted to like close a deal off or make anything a deal breaker. And he just has. I don't think people understand how much he influenced the world of horror. I think people need to know for a fact that that man is responsible for every slasher movie ever made. Absolutely. He created the formula of the slasher film, and people will say, no, he made the gory formula. No, he made the slasher formula. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If you've ever heard the storyline, a deranged killer stalks innocent victims one by one, killing each person in a horrible way on screen, and then the killer dies at the hands of the hero of the film in an even more horrific death. That is the slasher formula that Herschel Gordon Lewis invented. Yeah.
No argument here, man. He was a great dude. I'm also a big Trauma fan, and I love your Legend of the Chupacabra. How did they end up picking up that film? I was just curious.
Well, I'll be honest with you. That movie was made the same year the Blair Witch was made. The same film as a mockumentary. And of course, mine was done very tongue-in-cheek and not very serious with a big rubber creature. We tried to make it serious. We shot it in Texas and on my parents' goat ranch. And Lionsgate was actually going to pick it up. This was like 1997, before Lionsgate was a really big ta-da. And they passed on it. And then, I kind of, it fell over into the hands of Trauma, and Lloyd and Michael said, we're going to make this kind of like the mock of the Blair Witch, is what they said, because it has kind of a kooky kind of in broad daylight monster, a lot of rubber creature kind of thing going on in it. And we shot the whole movie for $3,500 on my parents' goat ranch. In fact, I convinced this man that ran a like a video wedding service to have his men come out. He's basically his cameramen, where these young guys like 18 through 21 years old that shoot weddings come out and shoot us while we were doing this basically, chupacabra play out on a goat ranch. Yeah.
Well, actually, let me ask you this, man. If you had an unlimited budget, like what project would you do where you don't have the constraint of money?
So if I had unlimited budget, what kind of film would I do?
Almost like a dream project, yeah.
Yeah. I already know what the answer is to it. I'm afraid to say it out loud. I'm going to do a zombie movie very soon. Ooh. And that would be the one that I would do it with my unlimited budget. But it would be my own lifelong accumulation of what I believe zombies do and how they look and how they act and why they're here and what is going to happen during that time. So I have my own personal original ideas behind all that stuff. Yeah.
Now, are you a fan of slow zombies or fast zombies?
That's another question to be answered in the future. Yeah. That all comes a part of it. Yeah. All that stuff is very important to me. Yeah. Growing up, Italian zombies were a big deal for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love the Blind Dead too, man. Stuff like that. Oh.
I haven't seen the Blind Dead. I haven't seen them. I haven't seen that series yet. I know of them, and I've never gotten around to them. But I saw The Gates of Hell in the movie theater the year it was released. It was actually called. Yeah, it was actually. Yeah. I saw it as a double feature, I think, with Q. Yeah. At a place called the San Pedro Theater in San Antonio, Texas. Yeah, it was on San Pedro Road. Yeah.
What's the strangest thing a fan's ever requested of you? And hopefully it's not my interview here.
Let me think. The strangest thing. I have pretty mellow fans. I have some really sweet, kind fans. I don't think anybody's asked anything too crazy of me that I haven't been able to oblige. I have a really solid, healthy support group from my fans and my friends and my family. So yeah. I can't really say there's anything too crazy.
Well, here, let me be the first then. I'm going to ask you some wacky shit here now. So
okay,
you have a shit your pants story. I ask every guest.
Say that again.
I said, do you have a good shit your pants story? I ask every guest.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Anything that like really scared me? Oh gosh. Yeah. Not anything I could talk about. I think I could talk about. Yeah. I got a couple, but not anything I can talk about.
Well, here's the
keep everything PG.
What in your life stands out as the single most thing that you're most proud of?
Oh, let's see. That's a good question. Man, that's a tough one. But it's not. I mean, ultimately, it's just being able to. I mean, ultimately, it's 22 years with my partner Steven is the thing I am most proud of. Because we get to chase this dream together and make movies together. I mean, I know other couples that do the same, and they have amazing lives as well. And it's just been a real gift and a blessing and a dream come true to be able to chase my dream with my partner. Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Let me ask you this then: does your work ever sometimes put a strain on your relationship with your family, your friends, your partner? Is it rough sometimes?
Well, that word is very relative, and because we're willing to go to any lengths.
Yeah.
So even though it's rough, that doesn't mean it's wrong. And yeah, maybe sometimes it's rough, but it doesn't make it wrong. It's like totally appropriate, And I mean, my partner and I have a Guinness Book of World Record together. After we did that, it was like we can do anything. We can do anything we want. Anything we put our mind to, we can do it. So
Here, let me just ask you a couple more and we'll wrap it up here.
Okay.
Is there any effect that you'd refuse to do?
Yes. I don't like using, a lot of people suggest this, and I want to put this out there. I don't do special effects like they did back in the 80s where they use real worms or real bugs or real animal parts, organs and whatnot. I don't do that. We have the technology today where we don't have to use a part of an animal for our entertainment. For sustenance, for food is one thing, but like killing worms or putting worms in blood onto maggots and fake body parts for film, that's not entertainment to me. We can use computer-generated effects to do that with today. I absolutely refuse to even be on the set if they're using real animal organs or brains or intestines or using real bugs in scenes when they're mixing them with blood and slime and stuff like that. I don't want to be on set.
Last question. Do you believe in the supernatural? Have you ever had a supernatural experience?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And I say this because years ago, I just know, like from my past to where I am today, absolutely something else has been in charge. Because if I had my way, my life would be a complete wreck. And today I have like one of the most amazing lives I could ever possibly have. And there's obviously something out there, a power greater than myself, driving everything in my life and bringing me all the wonderful joy and grace I have today.
Well, there you have it, man. You've said it all. The man, the myth, the legend, Joe Castro. Can you tell us where we can check you out and on the web and find you? What's going on with you, man? We want to keep in touch with you here.
Absolutely. If you'd like to talk with me, reach out to me on Facebook. I'm there almost every day. Facebook.com/Joe.Castro. Send me a friend request, but more importantly, send me a direct message and say hello. Let's make a movie together. Or you can reach me on Instagram. I rarely check messages there. It's Joe_Castro_director. And I'm all about making movies and making the world a better place one movie at a time. And I really appreciate you having me come on your show. And anything you need, you just reach out and say hello. And if I can make it happen, I will.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure talking to you. And hey, I'm going to be checking in. You're going to have to come back and do this again whenever you got that new movie coming out. So
absolutely. And I want to say, be on the lookout for Red Summer Massacre, Appetite for Sin, and American Masquerade. They are 3 feature films being shot this year where I get my first lead on-screen role as an actor.
Yes!
Breaking out into the acting.
Sir, I'm going to review them on my show, and tell you what, man, peace and love, peace and love. Thank you. The great Joe Castro.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.